Good day, guys. My name is Letlhogonolo, and today I'm going to be going through logical connectors with you guys. So let's start. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to try to explain what they are and also why do we need them. So as you basically know, from your previous experiences or lessons, logical connectors are basically linking words or words that are used to connect other words to make more sense. So they can also be called conjectors. Yes, so we're going to try to explain why we need them first, because basically they join ideas, as I've already explained, and show how these ideas are related to one another. So you can say they show a relationship between two ideas, and they also help us organize our ideas. In academic writing, organization is more important, so logical connectors help us organize our ideas, and it's also easier for the reader to follow through what we are saying if you wrote using logical connectors. So now let's have a practical example on how we can link the following sentence. Life in rural areas is challenging. Life in rural areas can be really exciting. So from the following sentence, we can try to add our own connectors so that the sentence can make more sense. So let's start. We can start with despite. Despite is also a connector. So we can say, despite the fact that life in rural areas is challenging, it can be really exciting. So you see now it makes more sense. Or you can also use even though. Even though life in rural areas is challenging, it can be really exciting. Makes sense, right? Life in rural areas is challenging. However, it can be very exciting. Now, they've used different types of logical connectors to try to show a relationship between those sentences. We first had despite, we had even though, now we have however. This just goes on to show that you can actually play with them. But wait, there's a different way we can connect those two sentences again. Here it is. Life in rural areas is challenging. Therefore, it can be very exciting. They've used therefore now. So that's a practical example of how you can use the logical connectors. Now, you probably have an idea on how to use them now. So we're going to link another sentence. Yes, it goes like, I went to a party, the music wasn't good, I decided to stay anyway. I met my friends, we had a great time. So it's a sentence, but it's not nicely constructed. So we can use logical connectors to construct it in a way that makes more sense, right? Yes. And here it goes. I went to a party, but the music wasn't good. I decided to stay anyway because I met my friends and we had a great time. You see now, starting to make sense, right? Because they included but and other connectors. But can we find a different way to link those sentences? Yes, of course we can. So here it is. This is what we did. I went to a party, but the music wasn't good. I decided to stay anyway because I met my friends and we had a great time. I want you guys to notice those words are highlighted in red or written in red. Those are basically our logical connectors. So this is how we connected the sentence, but we have another way of linking it. We can use different connectors to change the order of the sentence. Like in this example. I went to a party, even though the music wasn't good, I decided to stay. Eventually, we had a great time because I met my friend. You see now, it's starting to make more sense, right? And I want you guys to even pay attention to words written in red, because they are what links the whole sentences together, and they are what helps it to make more sense. So we've basically been dealing with connections of addition otherwise known as additional signals or logical connectors of addition, and they are basically additionally, furthermore, in addition, moreover, similarly, likewise, in the same way, besides, not also, but also. So those are logical connectors, which shows that you are adding on to something. Like maybe you might write a sentence and say, this is what happens when you do this. Additionally, this will happen. It shows that you are actually adding on what you are saying. So these are the type of logical connectors you can use to show that you are now basically adding on what we have been saying. Okay, so let's see if you can add some connectors. Here's another example. Learning English is important. It is a useful language. It is an international language. You can get a good job. You can travel around the world. You can communicate with people all over the world. Yes, as they say, English is an international language. So let's see how we link it here. How can we add connectors? Good question. Learning English is important and it is a useful language. Besides, it is the international language. Moreover, you can get a good job. In addition to traveling around the world, you can communicate with people all over the world. So I want you guys to pay attention to the words again because they are our connectors, our additional connectors. So this is how they were used in this instance. And again, we have connectors of change of direction. That's why we have however, nevertheless, although, though, even though, in spite of, despite, in contrast to. On the other hand, this is where you are now. This is where you are now changing direction or changing your mood, a sudden change of mood. Maybe you'll be arguing this point, but now you're taking another direction because, as you know, in writing, especially essay writing, you don't have to take any stance. So these are the type of connectors you can use to actually show that you are now deviating from what we've been saying all along. Another grammar tip would be always use a comma after however and therefore. Like in this instance, I don't like it when it rains heavily. However, we desperately need water in Mafiki. So you can see how here they used however and however again, and after they use a comma after it to show that this is how you're supposed to use however in academic writing. Yes. And then we have although and despite. So it will be grammatically wrong for you to use it as a full sentence, especially although and despite that. So here I'm basically showing you how you can use it. You can use it without using it as a full sentence. You can see here they say despite that it was raining. You can only say despite the rain we went for a walk instead of saying despite that it was raining. So yes. And then you basically be using a noun phrase. For those of you who don't know what a noun phrase is, it's also a nominal phrase. So you can check that out on your own. And we have connections of cause and effect. Those are the connectors of cause and effect, where they show what happens after this happens. And they are as follows. We have therefore, consequently, as a result of, thus, for this reason, because of, in order to, sort of. So those are our logical connectors so far. And then again we have other connectors which are fortunately, unfortunately, luckily, obviously, for example, for instance, such as. And now we have an activity here. So we have to rewrite this paragraph using at least connectors. So I'm going to read it for you and then we go on to see how we can add connectors to it. Recycling is something that is fairly easy to do. Small plastic bottles and glass bottles can be collected. They can be bought to a supermarket. You can get a refund. For bigger plastic bottles, there are places where you can dispose of the bottle. Paper can be recycled. Newspaper can be collected. You can throw them in special containers. Newspapers are recycled and used to make new papers. You can use both sides of the paper when writing. You should try to use plastic bags to a minimum. You can bring your own bags. This will save on using plastic bags. Recycling is really easy. It's a matter of habit. So now let's see how we can use connectors. So these are the possible answers that I came with. So all you have to do is focus on the rates, and you will see that this is where I have added connectors for this paragraph to actually make more sense. And the second activity you can do on your own. So you basically have to write a paragraph explaining a recent decision you've made and the reason behind it. Use at least 4 connectors, and if you'd like me to correct it and give you feedback or corrections, you can hand it to me anytime. So that's it for this activity, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Stay well.